Hello everyone, my name is Wayne, and my Disney Infinity ID is Cimmerian. Welcome to Fun with Logic, where we'll be going into the toy box and doing some more advanced connections of the Creativitoys, just to see what we can make Infinity 2.0 do for us. This tutorial is on the basics of chaining logic gates, part 2. In the last tutorial, we chained some logic gates, but we only used the input block signals to actually do anything. In this tutorial, we're going to also use the outputs of the logic gates, and we're going to use them to do a series of quests. As you can see here, I've already built a little room with a door here, and I built a little side hallway, and I've also done a text creator with some text put in it already just to save some time. Other than that, I've done nothing to this box. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to do a series of quests which are all going to be given to us by a single townsperson. So let's start. We're going to pick a townsperson to give us our quests. Let's go with Dipper Pine, just because I like Gravity Falls and I like Dipper Pine. So we're going to put him down and we're going to tell him to stand still. Alright, and then we're going to put him where we want him to be. Let's just put him right there. Next, we're going to put a trigger area in front of him, and that is where we are going to be getting the input for all of our logic gates. And look at him, he's wandering off. That sometimes happens if you do this stuff right on top of them. So I'll finish off my trigger area first before I go and get him. Don't need it to be too big, just a little box that you enter. And we'll have him stand right in front of it. Alright, so there's my box. Where's Dipper? There's Dipper. Alright, so we will put him right there. Hopefully he's going to stay put for us this time. Alright, so what we've done is we've done a trigger area, we have Dipper Pines, and we want him to give us quests. So, I'm going to take some logic gates, and I'm going to hook them up very similarly to what we did in the last tutorial. I'm going to find these logic gates, and we're going to do 3 quests. So again, I'm going to do 3 logic gates, just like last time. And let's just put them over here. Logic gate 1, logic gate 2, logic gate 3. So in this setup, you're going to actually tie them together in the exact same way. So if that logic gate closes, it will pass an input on to this logic gate. And if this logic gate closes, it's going to pass... Ugh, that was wrong. Input. Alright. And we are going to tell them that if a player enters the trigger area, send an input to this logic gate. So what we've done now is, as we said before, logic gates are default open. So if I step into this trigger area right now, it's going to send input to the first logic gate. And because it's open, it's not going to pass the message along. And it's going to try to send a signal of output, but we don't have anything attached to output yet. So I've actually got, I'm going to take output, and the first part of our quest is display text 1. And Dipper's just going to say, please help, there's an enemy in the room, or something along those lines. A monster is loose in here. Okay, kind of cool, but what I'm going to do is take this and actually connect it to Dipper, like that, and then if I go into the properties, I can tell it the text style is connected active. So now it'll look like Dipper's actually saying it, which for this kind of thing I think looks a little better. There we go. The monster is loose in here. Excellent. Well, so we've got the first quest started, except there's no monster loose in here. So that kind of isn't really doing what we want yet. So we're going to make an enemy generator, and we're going to put it over this side of the room. And because we know that for this first quest, the input from the trigger, or from the trigger area, is going to go into this logic gate and go out output. So we're going to say, if you get an output, spawn an enemy. And let's just put in just a Sakaran foot soldier. Fairly easy boss. So, now, if I approach him, please help, the monster is loose in here. Oh look, it's got that Sakaran foot soldier. And we dealt with it. Excellent, but, of course, if we go back to Dipper, we haven't done anything to these logic gates. So, nothing's really, he's just going to give the same quest again. You're also going to find that another problem I'm going to have is if I just keep approaching him, we're going to keep spawning enemies. And that's not really what I want this quest to be doing. I just want to spawn one enemy, and I want you to defeat him. So, how can we change this around? Well, I'm going to say, Dipper ran away, of course. We'll get him back shortly. But what we're going to say is, when you send an output, or so when this quest starts, you activate that trigger area. And what that is going to do is going to mean now if I walk into the trigger area again, nothing's going to happen. Which is a great start, but we want to be able to trigger the next quest after we've done this first quest. So we're going to need that trigger area to come back on. And so the way we get to the next quest, of course, is by closing this logic gate, which will send the signal through input blocked to the next logic gate, which is still going to be open, which will start quest 2. So we're going to say, when you close, or when the quest is over, reactivate that trigger point. So that way, once you've defeated that enemy, you can come back and he'll be ready to give you the next quest. Now, I'm also going to do that on these other two, just while I'm thinking about it. Output is going to turn the trigger area off. And the logic gate closing is going to turn the trigger area back on. And we'll do that on this guy too. Output, deactivate the trigger area. And closing it will reactivate the trigger area. And let's also get Dipper back in his spot. Excellent. Well, now we have to be able to tell this first logic gate to close when we're done the first quest. And since the first quest was to defeat an enemy, the easiest thing to do is say, when an enemy is defeated, close this logic gate. That way we've now reactivated this trigger area by doing that. And we've also, next time we walk into this trigger area, the input is going to come into this logic gate. It's closed, so the input blocked signal will be sent to this logic gate, which is still open. And this is where we'll get our second quest. So we're going to take the output of this logic gate, which is our second quest, and send it to display text 2. Now, the second quest is going to be opening this door over here, because right now it is locked. You can't get through it. Or maybe not. It was locked. How great is that? Okay, we're going to lock that door first. And actually I'm going to use a button to do that, because this next part of the quest, I was going to put a button here anyway, and all you have to do is come over, push the button, and that's going to open the door. That's all it is to the second quest. not trying to make it complicated here. I'm just trying to make it to see the logic passing through these logic gates. So if I push it, that's going to close. I push it. Good. The door is now locked. Alright, so I'm going to take that logic off this guy now. So the second quest is going to be, Dipper will say, please find a way out of here. And you come over and you push this button. Now, I could hook the button straight up to the door, say button pressed, door open. I could do that. But what if someone comes into this toy box and they start, let's say right here, and they look over and they see a shiny button over here. So they run over and they push the button, and all of a sudden our second logic gate is closed before we want it to be. So I like to make sure people can't mess up my logic, especially if I've got a lot of things tied to this second quest. Like maybe it's going to activate some other stuff further down the game, and if he pushes this button and closes it too early, it's never going to activate it because that logic gate will never send an output. So I'm just going to put a logic gate right here, and I'm going to say when this button is pressed, sends an input. Logic gate's defaulted to open, so by default I don't want it to do anything. So I want to have to close it. So if the input blocked message is received, then you can open this door. And the only time I want you to be able to do that is during the second quest. So during the second quest, I will send an output to this logic gate saying close. So once I've told you I need to find a way out on the second quest, I close this logic gate so you can now push this button, and the signal will now pass through the logic gate out the input block and open this door. Now, to end the second quest, what's our main goal here is this door opening. So what we're going to say is, when this door opens, close the second logic gate. Now it's good. And just because I like to be tidy, I'm also going to say, when the door opens, open that logic gate so that pushing the button is not going to do anything anymore. In case you had other things tied to this door opening, like some enemies spawning or something like that, I like to make sure if I only want it to happen once, I only let it happen once. So that should be our second quest taken care of as well. And then our third quest is going to be just a wave of enemies going to spawn right here in the hallway, and it's going to ask you to go clear them. So I'm just going to put an enemy wave generator right here. I'm going to pop a locator over in that hallway, and I'm going to tie them together, and I'm just going to spawn like I don't know, 3 creatures, just something easy to do. So I'll put a locator right there. I'll hook the enemy wave generator up to that guy, and configure wave. Let's put in, I don't know, nothing too difficult to defeat. Let's just throw in a couple more foot soldiers. Let's put 3 of them in there. And I just like to get rid of the delays. Excellent. So now we're on the third quest. So we're going to say, if you receive an output, I know that the text I've done is text 3 for that quest. I'm also going to say, if I get an output, I want you to generate this wave. Now, once we've defeated the wave, we're done the third quest. And so what I'm going to do then is say, if the wave is defeated, we're now going to close this guy. Now there's no more logic gates past here, but a great thing about logic gates when you're chaining them, if you want 4 different events to happen, you can just use 3 logic gates to do it, because you're using the output of this one, while input block sends a signal to the next one, using the output of this one while input block is sending to the third one. You can use the output of this one, but you can also use the input block because you're not using it to send the signal anywhere else. So I'm going to say we're going to take the input blocked, And all we're doing is sending basically a thank you message. Display text for. Alright, so that should actually be all the logic put in, and we should now have this game working, where this one trigger area is going to control 4 different things happening. So we can give it a try. Please help, the monster is on the loose now. Excellent, monster is defeated. So now that the monster is defeated, it will have closed that first logic gate, which will have reactivated this trigger area. So, let's come up, we're stuck in here. Please find a way out. Now, because he already triggered, we've deactivated the trigger area, so he's not going to ask me to do it again. We've made sure that that trigger area is deactivated. It's only going to reactivate when the next logic gate closes, which is going to happen when we open this door. And now, because we've sent an output out of the second logic gate, this logic gate right here should be closed. So our signal should now be able to hit that door, which just opened. Excellent. And that should have reactivated this trigger area so we can do our third quest. There are more creatures in the hallway, please clear them out. Let's go see if he's right. Oh, there they are. Excellent. That was pretty simple. And I think Dipper ran away, but the trigger area is right there. Thank you for all your help. There you go. So we have just done 4 different things using one trigger area by using logic gates. That is the end of the tutorial on the basics of chaining logic gates, part 2. I hope you were able to get something from it, and have a great day. Thank you very much for watching.